Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Happiness Happens. Thanks for joining me for another incredible episode on the podcast. Today's conversation is an incredible conversation. My guest, her name is Patricia Lohan. She is a repeat guest on the podcast, which I don't do a whole lot of very often. But she was previously on the show to talk about feng shui. And today we're talking about a totally different topic, a little bit of feng shui, but a lot more to do with the Chinese New Year, the year of the wood dragon, and this new 20-year cycle that we are in. And I'm telling you, it is going to blow your mind. We're talking about the cycle 9 shift, how this is going to impact both men and women, the different sectors that are going to be shifting, and how we can expect the cycle over the next 20 years to go. And ultimately, how this fire energy that's coming into play can impact your life. You are going to absolutely love this conversation because there's so many tangible nuggets of wisdom and information that you can literally take and implement into your life right now immediately. And I definitely recommend you get in touch with Patricia if you have any questions specifically, because I think that you will gain so much from what we are talking about today. Patricia is a feng shui expert, a speaker, and an author. She is a manifesting magnet, alchemist, healer, and real life Irish Celtic shaman. Some people call her the Mary Poppins of prosperity. She's the creator of Powerhouse Feng Shui and author of The Happy Home, a guide to creating a happy, healthy, wealthy life. She helps entrepreneurs make their homes and businesses magnetic to money, luck, and blessings. And she shows you what they don't teach in business school, what lies between the lines, your top secret tools for success. She has helped thousands of people across the globe embrace feng shui and creates lasting changes in their businesses, homes, and in their lives. She has seen firsthand the power of the mind, surroundings, and inner healing, clearing and aligning everything so that it works holistically. You're going to have your mind blown with today's conversation. And before I stop talking and head into this episode, I would love if you could leave a 5-star review where you're listening. Follow the show, whatever platform you're listening on, so you never miss an episode. And if this content resonates, please share it with somebody else that needs to hear it, somebody else that may be impacted in a really significant and powerful way. Okay, my friend, thank you for being here today. And let's get into our conversation with Patricia. Patricia, welcome back to Happiness Happens. You were previously on the podcast where we talked all about feng shui, and today we're diving into this topic from a different perspective, and I'm
hmm
excited to have you back here, so thank you for being here.
I am delighted to be here, and as you know, I do absolutely adore the name of your podcast because it's just all about happiness.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And then on that note, I want to ask you a question that I've been asking. It's a different way that I've been opening up the show since the last time you and I spoke. What does happiness mean to you? I love to start there.
So, happiness means to me being in deep appreciation for everything that you have. So,
Mm.
just like waking up and just being grateful that I'm here another day in my body, in this beautiful, cozy bed beside my amazing husband, and my lovely dog runs up and jumps on my head, and I feel like I've had a massive change in just what happiness is. And it's just about being really present and really appreciative of like what we have right now, and not looking outside for external happiness. It's all here right now. It's available right now.
I love that. Was there anything in specific that prompted that shift in what you thought happiness was before versus now?
Well, the last 2 years, the last 2 years, I've just dived much deeper into a more profound, dedicated meditation practice. And it's just made me more present, more aware, more conscious, and just, more appreciative. My house hasn't changed, my car hasn't changed, my business has changed a lot in a very positive way. My husband hasn't changed, like, in terms of the things in my life are the same, but I'm way happier and
That's
way more
amazing.
appreciative. So it's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. And and I think too, there's like something to be said about getting intentional with yourself and like sitting down with yourself and like really, developing like a deep practice in whatever way that looks
Mm,
like to you. And I think that it's hard to see what the power of that looks like until you actually start to live it and you're like, hold on, this is actually life
Mm,
changing. And it's small changes, but then you look back and you're
yeah.
like, nothing is the same, but also everything is the same.
Nothing is the same, but everything. Yeah, it's so true. And it's that dedication to a practice. If you had told me, I used to say, oh yeah, I do meditate, but I wasn't. And I was like lying to myself.
Yeah.
And now my day is just, I don't start my day without it. And I'm maybe 3 and a bit years now. Yeah, maybe over 3 years of a daily practice with it. And it's just been amazing.
Good for you. That's incredible. I love that. Okay, now I feel like we've probably caught up, so that's great.
Yes.
Today we're shifting gears compared to our last episode that we did together. We're shifting gears today. We are talking about the Chinese New Year. We are talking about the year. Is it the year of the wood dragon? Is that the year that
The year of
we're
the wood
in?
dragon. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about this new 20-year cycle that we have already entered into, I'm guessing. I don't know a whole
Yes.
lot about this, so this is going to be educational for me just as much as my listeners today. So where's the best place to begin when it comes to this? Like, we're in a new cycle. So what is
So
that?
we're the start of two different cycles. So every year we know that there's a celebration for the Chinese New Year. It
Yep.
goes from literally this weekend until the 10th. It works from new moon to full moon. It's a big, and there's always an animal associated because it's like
Mm-hmm.
an animal and element. So you said wood dragon, yes, 100%. So that's the element, the guiding dominant element of the year connected to the animal of the dragon. So that's just one cycle. And feng shui works, and like Chinese medicine works always with the seasons and with the cycles and works with nature. Like feng shui is about working with the Tao and the flow of life.
Okay.
Now, these ancient, wise, incredible sages spent eons studying the stars basically to
Mm,
figure out like what's going on, how does this all work, how does this whole world work. And they basically looked at these bigger cycles. So there's like annual cycles, then there's 20-year cycles, and then within that there's 180-year cycles. And 2024, literally this weekend, we had the change into not just the 1 year cycle of the year of the wood dragon,
mm-hmm.
but also into a brand new cycle 9 in this larger 180-year cycle. So we're really pivoting to a completely different era. And I suppose the easiest way to, differentiate between this is period 8, which we just have moved out of and we're saying goodbye to, was dominated by the earth element. It was dominated by young men in business. So a lot of, if we just look back,
Lie. No, I'm just
if we
kidding.
think of, we're just like
Just joking.
Facebooks, we're just thinking, yeah, we were talking about like Facebook, we're talking about like all these like huge companies that kind of blew up. And, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like you're just looking at all these guys in these big businesses that have exploded in the past 20 years. Education is like a massive theme, learning and wisdom and long-term building. It was very much earth. So it's like a lot about real estate, and it was
Mm,
kind of a slow and steady energy. Now we're moving into this new period, which is period 9, which is dominated by the energy of fire. And the fire element in this 20-year cycle is very, very, very special and very unique because fire element is always changing.
mm-hmm.
So the energy coming into this 20-year cycle is always going to be changing. There's
Can I
just going to
ask you a
be
question?
always, go ahead.
When you say fire, because if you look from an astrological perspective, you have your different signs. You have your fire signs, your whatever. Does that impact people who are fire signs on a deeper level? Because that's me. I'm a fire
Okay,
sign.
so fire signs. So this is a great question because there's a difference between Chinese astrology and
Sure.
Western astrology. So you're talking about Western astrology,
Yeah.
which is the fire element, and I'm also a fire sign.
Mm,
And does that link? It's usually quite synergistic, and things do layer up and make sense because we do have a Western astrologer who works in our team who looks at the different themes of the month. So we align our powerhouse program with the themes of like what will be going on. Like, so for fame and reputation month would be the season of Leo because it's all about shining your light in the world. So we
right.
would sync up like that, but this is not necessarily for just fire sign people or fire
Okay.
element from a Western. This is more the dynamic creative force that's going to be dominant over the 20-year cycle. So when we look at the fire element, it's passionate, it can be explosive, it can be it's fiery, it can be aggressive, it can be exciting, it's dynamic, it's changing. So compared to like earth, which is like stones and buildings.
Yeah.
This is completely different and it's ever changing.
Hmm.
So when we look at fire element is also a symbol of transformation. So there's going to be a lot of spiritual transformation, soul discovery, and it is the era of the mature woman. So for women, this is our time. Essentially, like women, it is our season for the next 20 years. We're going to see a lot more female presidents. We're going to see more women in power. We're going to see, women in general stepping up into their power. Now, is this something that we're like, well, like we've already been feeling it. So these 20-year cycles don't happen like this is the
cutoff
cutoff,
date. Yeah.
This is it. It started today. All women are going into like it's going to be gradual. Like we saw a woman doing the haka in New Zealand in their kind of like, I don't know, House of Commons or House of Lords. Right. I was like, this is where things are changing. So we would have already been feeling this, and we've already been feeling this fire element burning things down, like literally letting things go, change from the masculine more into the feminine. Does it mean that all men are not going to be good in business? Not at all, because women thrived in the previous era as well. But this is just going to see more women. It's also, when you look at just the physical fire element itself, it's about flexibility and collaboration, and then technology, because technology is like very connected to the energy of fire and transformation and connection. So when we look at this idea, like just from a business perspective, even for us in business, there's a lot of different things we can take just to not understand that it is important for us, if you are an entrepreneur or in your business or working in a company, that you are keeping up to date with technology and that you are having a presence online. It doesn't need to be the dominant part, but it is going to be kind of like looked for, which we know. And the nice thing about this period is like almost like it goes through stages. So there'll be like the initial stage, and then like, so it's like kind of like baby steps right now, like the transformation is happening, and it'll just start to get bigger and more powerful for women, and change we'll start to see it. Now, the industries that are going to kind of really do best in this phase, because we were talking about transformation, spirituality, and that fire element, collaboration, it's going to be energy healers, like feng shui experts, metaphysics, like growth, transformation, like people in the business of transformation are going to help, because we are helping facilitate this transformation. And a lot of people are going to feel it. And the thing is with this is like, it's a bit like astrology, it's going to be happening, and you're either going to kind of go with the wave of it and be like, I'm ready for change. But if you're not changing and you're like, I think everything wants to stay the same, you're going to get like pretty much a kick up the butt, and it's going to happen, and one of the symbols that's very associated with this period is the phoenix rising energy. And that is this phoenix is it's like we have to like burn to the ground to come back up and really back into our power. And what I really like, because we talked about Western astrology and the synergy, was that literally just in late January, Pluto re-entered Aquarius. This is actually a 20-year cycle as well. Okay. And the Pluto moving into Aquarius is all about your soul's journey and the frequency of your soul's journey. So it's about getting into your power. It's about individuation. So it's like not being part of the collective, but like collaborating, but also being yourself. And that's what this era is about. It's about like releasing all of the, like burning off all the ego, burning off the thing, and really embodying who you're meant to be. So I thought that it was really fun that, like, when even how you asked that question about, how does this sync in with Western astrology? Like they do all there, and like it's not the same, it's named and labeled the same thing. But when I was reading about this, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what's happening in cycle 9 from a feng shui perspective.
So you said cycle 9. So is that just like the name of this cycle, and like next year or like in 20 years it'll be cycle 10? Is like that how?
It'll be cycle 1. So this is the end. This is the final cycle in 9. So we have 9 cycles. They're over 20 years each in 180 year loops. So this is the final stage, basically, kind of like in this era.
So then what happens when it goes back to 1? Does it go back to 1 as like an elevated version of 9?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll go back to 1, and it will have the influences what the 1 energy holds. And I suppose also we can also look back to what was happening 180 years ago. So Queen Victoria was in power in the UK. In China, it was actually ruled by an empress. So like that idea of like that way back then, there was these women in power in this same era that we're going through. So,
Wow.
these things like repeat, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we evolve and we get better, and just, get a bit better, so we're going to see. And also because we've just been coming through the final phase out of cycle 8 into 9 and feeling cycle 9, that would mean like the crypto, the virtual reality, blockchain, energy, solar power, biotech, digital media, marketing, social media, PR, beauty, cosmetics, like 3D printing, biotech, all of that, like that's just been growing in the
Yeah.
past few years, and it's just
AI.
going to
Yeah.
continue. Like all of that's going to continue.
Well, that
Um,
makes me feel good because I'm a podcast producer and we do a lot of
yeah,
stuff in the digital media space. So I'm like, glad I'm not going to be irrelevant in the next 20 years.
no, not at all. Like not at all, not at all. And I think that also what's really important is that for people during this period, it's about staying really grounded and true to yourself, because
Hmm.
this element is going to, fire can turn aggressive, fire
Right.
can turn angry. And, if you're evolving and you're transforming, and, with my own clients, I've said to them, make sure that you have a dedicated meditation practice. Like,
Hmm.
make sure that you are like really honoring yourself and tending to yourself and allowing yourself to like relinquish anything that no longer serves you, and staying grounded and connected. Because if you're not, it's going to, if you're not doing these and you're doing the practices for yourself,
Yeah.
you're going to see transformation without it being easy. Like it may not be easy. And that's where
Hmm.
you'll see more probably family law things, divorce lawyers, family therapists, because like this is all about cleaning up our act. It
Right.
really is a time of like cleaning up our act. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So if you compare this 20-year cycle, right,
Mm-hmm.
with the lunar, like New Year, like this year, what year is it
Yeah.
for this year?
So this year is the year of the dragon.
Okay.
And the dragon, basically what happens is we have like this 1 year cycle, like 1 year energy, which you have the dragon. And then you also have the 20-year cycle.
Okay.
So basically the overall dominating energy is going to be the 20-year, but like in this kind of microcosm of our new year, which started at the weekend, you're going to have this wood dragon. And the wood dragon, basically, it's kind of like you have to even just look to the animal itself, in terms of like it gives you a lot of information into what the energy of this year is going to be, because the dragon is the only one of the animals that isn't like that's like a mythical creature
Hmm.
in the Chinese calendar. So you're like, okay, so that means that we're going to be going way more esoteric. There's like there's the mythical creature, okay, and it is a time for us to kind of deep dive into the whispers of our soul, to get guidance, like internal guidance, and tap into kind of that divine flow energy with the dragon. The
Okay.
dragon is associated with joy, authority, and transformation. So it's no surprise. It's transformation. It's also self-care and growth and nurturing, like kind of a tree in spring.
Mm-hmm.
And the dragon also represents male and female energy. So it's this harmonizing. So it's kind of interesting that this comes at this time, because we're moving from the male into the feminine, and this year is about harmonizing that. Dragon energy is going to be helping like harmonize that, and it's encouraging us to speak our truth, be strong. Like a dragon is a forceful, strong animal. Like it's not like the rabbit, like hopping along. Like you've put last year we had the rabbit, and
Yeah.
this year we have a dragon. You're
Well,
like,
I felt like a rabbit last year, let me tell you.
oh, we're just like, what the hell? That's totally different, Or the
Mm-hmm.
year of a rooster, it's like, I'm going to show up and strut my stuff. But the dragon means business. So it also, they're protectors. They're seen as protectors in so many cultures. And like from a feng shui perspective, when we're analyzing like kind of form, like the most like ancient form of feng shui is form feng shui. We're actually looking at the land, and the dragon is one of the most powerful animals that we will be looking for in the land and how it lays out in the land. The Celtic druids would have used them as forces of nature, and also like shamans, and they would have used it as rain deities, or and used them to and connected with them for that transformation of and connection with that balancing of the masculine and feminine.
That's really interesting. Okay, but so when you look at like feng shui and like your actual
Mm-hmm.
space, is there anything in like your physical space that you think should change at this point?
Amazing. So basically what happens is when we come into a Chinese New Year in from a feng shui practice, when my clients, like literally my clients are pretty busy right now because they've all got new reports for their homes. And what happens
Mm.
is the dial changes. So the energy changes and the whole flow of thing kind of is updated. It's like, you know, when the clock changes and you're like, oh, I'm a bit discontent. I need to change my alarm. So it's the same with your house. Essentially, the new energy comes in with the dragon, and that dragon dominant energy just kind of like oversees the year. But internal in every house, there's going to be a shift. And this is where I would have my clients, like literally, we would be reanalyzing their homes energetically and saying, okay, so last year you needed like fire element in this area. So some red or some purple in this area to bring more fire to this energy, to, you know, finances or whatever. This year, no, because it's changed. And actually, we're going to bring a plant here because there's already too much that we want to, when we see, oh yeah, say for example, excess water, we'll be like, oh, we're bring some earth here because we don't need too much water element in here. We're all about neutralizing. And so essentially what my clients are doing right now is they're rebalancing their homes in alignment with this annual energy that has come in. Now, what's super fun with this, and you know, for people who are not here and not my clients, are like, well, what should I be doing? Like, literally, you may see a shift like quite quickly. Is some people will see it because we move into different cycles, and they can really like drastically impact your finances. Like, I've had clients who've come to me and said, like, oh my God, like this year, you know, they've hired me and they're like, I'll tell you the date that everything shifted. And I'm like, okay, what was it? They're like, 3rd of February. I'm like, oh, spot on, the 3rd of February, lost their biggest client, you know, because the building has gone into a negative spin and not negative energy around abundance and money. It's totally fixable. That's actually the good news about it. But if you do notice something like shifting, you're just like, wow, that's different this month. It could be, for me, it will be a red flag to be like, okay, you need to definitely get this analyzed by a consultant, because there's this, it's not just going to stop. If you have something like that happening this year, noticing, or just like like losing your job, something kind of dramatic happening in the next couple of weeks in this early February time, I would be like, massive red flag. There's something off energetically that needs to be reharmonized in the house, and it can be, which is nice. But from a non, you know, client perspective, I would be saying to people, like, do a big declutter. Like, you know, not only are we entering into a new year, but we're entering into a new era. And it's like, what would you want your life to look like? How do you want to be showing up in the world? You know, for me, I spent the weekend, like literally on Friday or Saturday, we spent the whole weekend scrubbing our floors. We got this special machine in, we were cleaning our floors. I've literally decluttered every inch. Still got one space to do, and I want to go back to the attic, but most of the places I've totally tackled. Cleaned everything. Like, we did floors and stuff. I had cleaners in. I really was just like, I just want like a fresh start. So it was like a real big sweep of the house, and like, there's no accidents with this, you know. Just think about spring cleaning, you know. It's like
Yeah.
everything makes sense, and the synergy of the timing of all of this always blows my mind, because, you know, here in Ireland, we just celebrated St. Bridget's Day. She's the patroness of Ireland, and it's also Celtic calendar, the Imbolc. It's the time of in the belly, birthing new. So, you know, if just imagine a new baby was coming into your house, you'd be preparing for the baby. It's the same thing. You're like preparing the space. So that is really a big aspect of like this timing right now. It's a really great time to just be like, okay, well, I'm preparing my house for the year ahead. Like, I'm preparing for the baby, or I'm preparing for this new era, for this new energy, and to do a big spring clean.
I love that. And it's interesting doing it this time of year as opposed to, like, January, for example, where a lot of people think, that's the new year. But January 1st has never felt like the new year for me, ever.
Yeah, so as I said, we worked closely with astrologers and astrologer, and one of our friends, he was chatting to us. He's an amazing astrologer here in Ireland, and he was saying, he's like, the Gregorian calendar like syncs with nothing. Like, that's why New Year's resolutions like never work, because it's literally, the timing is so bad and it's never in sync with anything. Like,
The
it's
worst.
just this, it's like the worst. Plus, like from a Celtic calendar perspective, and even from a feng shui perspective, like we're coming to the end of the year, it's closed down, it's integration, it's hibernation. Like just look at the animals, like look at the trees. They're like, we're not out partying. We are all inside preparing, hibernating. And yeah, I'm going to start to think about my new year when the sun starts to come out and it starts to warm up a bit. And I'm going to start clearing. So I think that there's it's just really nice that these ancient cultures all work in tandem and with maybe different names. You know, we've talked about Western astrology, we've talked about literally the Celtic calendar, also the Mayan calendar has different dates, you know, so all of these, but it all has the same similar timing and philosophy, which I just love.
That is so interesting to me. I love that because when you're in North America, a lot of the times people who are in North America, like just, it's like the only way to be. You know what I mean? Like, you follow everything that happens traditionally over here, but you don't really take a chance to look at are all of the other things going on and how are all of the other elements impacting our lives every single day. And it's really interesting to me that all of these different modalities really play into each other. You
Mm-hmm.
look at the phases of the moon, you look at this new cycle that we're in, what your own life path number, your own
Yeah.
personal astrology, and then how that pairs with the astrology of like the world. So there's a lot to learn. So I'm going to ask you, I have three more questions for you. So the first one is there anything that we may have missed in relation to like this topic specifically that you want to make sure to highlight?
From this topic specifically, I suppose for me, it's just really this awareness that like this is a time of massive transformation. And it's really important for you, just in terms of from a physical perspective, the parts of the body that are going to be most impacted for you to look at the most is like is your eyes. So looking after your eyes, looking after your heart. So these are like it's like this era is about like tending to the most important parts. So your digestive system, your heart, your eyes, the tongue, the chest, and self-care of the mind. So the fire element and this cycle 9, these are the main parts. And like you're like, well, they're all of them, but actually in other areas it would be like limbs or ears or whatever. But what I find fascinating is like this is a time to really look after yourself, like really like set yourself up for self-care, and self-care is not selfish. It's the most important thing to be tending to your health and your well-being, because a lot of people, especially if we're in this era of transformation, a lot of people are going to need our help,
Mm-hmm.
and this energy of fire just, and also because it's such a dynamic force, the idea of the self-care isn't just for like a nice to have. It's because if we don't, the fire element will just burn out, and come to that kind of energy of exhaustion and
Lethargy, like,
yeah, that's one thing.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing was just around this cycle 9 would be the fire element, and how basically fire is fire can't operate alone. So it's this energy that we're moving into about collaboration. So it's like all rising tides all rise together. Like, rising tides, all ships rise at rising tides. So we want to start thinking about this energy of collaboration and how can we collaborate more, because fire can burn wood, fire can melt metal, it can boil water, and it hardens the earth and it creates earth. But it's also not everlasting. So it always requires fuel. So and that's kind of that self-care. Like you're always going to need to be being fueled, and being looked after. So this idea of like, where can you collaborate more in your life, in your business, in your work, is going to be something that we're going to see more of.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so if someone wants to go deeper with you, you talked a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about, your program and the different people that you work with.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like how someone reaches out to you, now what?
Yes. So if someone reaches out to us, I have my program Powerhouse, and they send their information into. We have a questionnaire that we've developed that you send in all the information about your house, and then we will literally analyze your house. So it's pretty much like getting a natal chart done for your home.
Love that.
And when we get the natal chart done, we analyze your chart and your home, and we're like, okay, well, this area is out of balance. You're going to need this element in this area, and each of those areas represent a different part of your life, your body, and your relationships. So like, for this year, cycle 9 is related to the south area. It's also related to the middle-aged woman, middle daughter, that kind of woman, female energy. But then every part of the home represents a different person who lives in the house. So there's a lot that we do to really support everyone in the house. And then once you have your report, you are able to walk through our program. We answer questions in our Facebook group. I do lives and threads, and we have an astrology call once a month. And essentially, it's like acupuncture for your home. It's like, here's your report, here's the remedies. Like, it's not metal needles, but it's similar, same idea, worked from that 5-element theory. So we're working with fire, water, metal, earth, and wood. And when you do that, what we're doing is tapping our house into that universal source energy. So we're tapping your house into divine flow. We're tapping it into the Tao. We want your home to be balanced and harmonized. And then once your home has that, you're creating that foundation that supports you, your family, and everyone in your house to kind of move into that flow. So things just get easier, more abundant, more fun, more joyful, and more interesting.
Love that. Thank you. My final I'll make sure to put all of that in the show notes below so that my listener can go and get in touch with you and figure all that out. And my final question for you today is a question I've asked you this before. I wonder if you'll have a different answer, but what's one way my listener can create a little more happiness in their day every day starting today?
A little more happiness in your day starting today. I would say going to sleep with like your hand on your heart and bringing a smile to your face to reflect on the things that have happened, the good things that happened over the day, just in and really shoring up that energy in your heart. Because when you go to sleep with a really good feeling in your heart, you'll wake up with it. You'll have nicer dreams and you'll wake up with it. And you'll just be, I feel like it's like your next day is dictated by the actions you take today. So tomorrow is dictated by the actions you take today.
I love
that. Do something good at night. And I'm sure I said something totally different the last time. But
You did. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. But I think it was more related to feng shui. Yeah. I think it was something about the home, probably. But I love that. Patricia, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so grateful for you
welcome.
and your time.
Thank you so much. And this is an amazing era for us as women. So it's kind of like time to step up and to shine.
I love that. Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in to today's conversation on Happiness Happens. Be sure to get in touch with both of us. Let us know what you loved from our conversation. Leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening if you enjoyed what we had to say today. And I hope you have a beautiful day ahead. Remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.